Hey guys, and welcome back. So what I want to talk to you about in this nugget right here is the concept of a virtual directory. Now really, what we're going to be talking about is what is called the proc directory as well as the sys directory. That is /proc and /. Now, sometimes you do hear people erroneously say that these actual directories do not exist. And that really is just a misunderstanding of what these directories are. They absolutely do exist. The thing is that they don't exist on the hard disk. Basically, these directories are created within memory. And they're basically recreated when the computer boots up. So when the computer boots up, these two directories are generated in memory and they hold particular pieces of information. So let's first talk about the proc directory. Now notice that when I'm typing the proc directory, I'm doing this /. That should give you a hint as to where this directory is located. It's located at the root of the file system, and then we go into the proc directory. Now, within this directory, we're going to see all of the different types of processes, i.e. the name proc, that are running on the computer. And we'll actually get to see things such as PIDs, which are the process IDs, and we will deep dive that a little bit later on within this course. But for now, just understand that you will see these numbers and they are representing effectively in a numerical way the different processes running on the system. Now these files are going to have information relating to, like CPU and memory and available file systems, so on and so forth. So how about we go and explore this virtual directory, which absolutely does exist on the command line right now. So what I'll do here is I'll do cd and then I'll go to the root directory. And if I do an ls, here we have the proc directory. And for reference, we can also see this other one sys. But for now, let's focus on proc. So from here, we'll just do cd proc. That takes us into the proc directory. And if I do an ls now, this is exactly what I was talking about. See all of these numbers here? These are effectively the different process IDs running on the system right now. The command I'm going to show you right now is related to processes. Don't worry about it too much. We'll get to look at it in more detail later on. But like I say, this command here, ps-e, shows us every process running right now. So if I hit enter, we can actually see all of these numbers here which associate to a particular process. So if I scroll on up, we can see all of these different types of processes, and notice here that these numbers actually do correlate to the available folders within the proc directory. Now, don't worry about what all these processes actually are. I'm sure that does look pretty confusing for you right now. Just understand that particular processes are running in memory, and we can find information about those particular processes within this directory. So if we do an ls, again, we can see all of these processes right here. And similarly, we also have these files. Now, what you might notice here is that on my CLI, I have different colors. We have color blue and we have color white. In my case here, the color blue is denoting directories, whereas the color white, these are actually denoting actual files which we can open. So look here, we don't just have these process IDs, we also have these files right here. So say for example, we've got one called mem.info. This should give us memory information relating to our processes. Now, here is another core Linux command. We're going to talk about the cat command. Now, the cat command, it says here, is used to concatenate files and print on the standard output. Basically, what people actually use the command cat to do, it's just really to open up a file. So you know the way on maybe your Windows or Mac device, you might have a little text file, and you double click it and it opens up in something like, say, Notepad, and you can read the contents of that file. Well, the cat command is going to do the same thing, but it's going to print that output directly on the terminal. The way I actually used to remember this command when I first started Linux, I just used to think about opening a tin of cat food. That way I could associate cat with opening. And maybe or maybe not that will help you remember it, but ultimately that's what we're going to do. So we're going to use the cat command, and in this case here, we'll open up a file, mem.info, and if we hit enter, look at this, we can see all the memory related information for these processes right here. We can see what is taking up what, how much memory is being used. We have the memory total and the free memory, and a whole bunch of different information. Now, you don't have to know all the details of what every thing here does. Just understand that we can find this type of information within the virtual directory, the proc directory, for our processes. And again, similarly, we can do ls, and we could maybe look at the modules. We could say cat modules, and this is showing us all of the modules which are currently being loaded into the kernel. Now, if you want to see information relating to what are called IRQs, these are interrupt requests, we can find this within this file right here, within the proc directory. So what I can do is say cat interrupts, and this shows us information relating to our IRQs. Now, one important thing I should actually note here is that right now we are specifying what are called relative paths. This means that I'm actually opening the file from within the directory I'm in, which is proc. Now, if I happen to maybe go back to the root directory, I can't actually cat the interrupts file from here relatively. It's going to say no such file, but what I can do is specify the full path. I can say cat, go to the root, go into the proc directory, and then go into interrupts. And then if I hit enter, we can then see the same information, but from a different vantage point in the file system. So the proc virtual directory really has a whole boatload of very useful information. Now, the other virtual directory I want to show you, if I can just clear my screen, is the one called sys. Now, the big difference is that with the proc directory, we were seeing information relating to processes. Within the sys directory, we're going to see information relating to kernel modules, as well as system hardware. Now, actually, one little detail I want to point out here is that the actual virtual file system itself is called sysfs. This is the file system which is giving us all this information. The difference here is that it's actually mounted, i.e. available from /sys. So just understand the difference here between sysfs and /sys. So let's do our usual exploring. We are in the sys directory. Let's do an ls. We can see all of these different types of directories. If we want to see information relating to block devices, and if you're unsure what a block device is, that would be something like, say, a hard drive or a CD-ROM and RAM disk, basically anything that is organized in fixed size blocks. So we could go into the block directory and do an ls, or alternatively, what we could also do is go back and even go back further again so that we're in the root. We can do, just like with the cat command, we can specify the full path. So whilst we're actually in the root directory, what I can then say is ls, i.e. list, whatever is in the block directory within sys. So if I hit enter, we get the same output, just from a different vantage point. So in the case here, we have SDA. This is going to be my hard disk, and we'll get to look at this again in more detail later on within this course. Don't worry about all of these details quite just yet. So again, we could go into CD bus. So now we have bus information. So we could check out information relating to USB or PCI, as we saw before, or SCSI. In this case, I could go into USB, and this directory is where I would find information relating to USB devices. So again, the sys directory, whilst it is a virtual directory about hardware, really is very, very important. Okay, so that is us for our introduction to virtual file systems within Linux. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.